Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the cable crossover exercise. Now, unlike other chest pull exercises with cables, this is a crossover which allows us to get a little bit wider range of motion, which is going to help us get a bigger stretch on the muscle. Also helps us really develop the inner chest. Not only am I going to teach you how to do it properly, I'm also going to show you how to integrate it into your own workouts, whether you're trying to build muscle mass or strengthen the chest muscles. Let's dive in. So the first step here is get yourself set up. You're going to want to use little handle straps like this, and then you want to move the cables to the highest position. You can do this at any angle. However, I like going from this kind of high position on the downward fly. So we make sure we set them both up. So I recommend starting with a lighter weight just so you can kind of get used to the movement, find what works well. So now that you've got them set up in the right position, we're going to move into the execution. So during this movement, we're going to have a slight bend in the elbow, but we're not going to let it move as we're doing it. It's a slight fix, and we're just trying to move from the shoulder. So I'm going to step out with a staggered stance, stepping out far enough that I have tension on the cables. I'm not coming back and hitting the stack every time. Now that we've set ourselves up here, we're going to keep our chest up, and we're going to reach our hands out front and allowing ourselves to cross over one hand on top of the other like we're giving ourselves a hug. Then we're going to open up, big, wide open arms, and then we're going to alternate. Other hand crosses over on top. Unlike a normal fly where we stop here, we are adding about a couple extra inches to get a little bit more of a squeeze in that inner chest. Always focusing on big, open flies. We want to make sure we're not bringing the hands back through here. So an expert tip here to get better stretch and contractions in that chest is understanding the anatomy of what's going on in this movement. So our chest muscle connects all down through the sternum and it fans up to the shoulder. So a lot of times when people will do this, they come down and they do too much bending and they're not getting that stretch. We want to lengthen from here. So as we're coming out, we want to think about shoulder, chest stays where it's at, and that shoulder gets pulled open. And we're really trying to stretch these muscle fibers. So as you're coming out of this position, we want to open up wide instead of just pulling it straight back. If you pull it straight back, you'll feel your shoulders. So again, we're trying to open up wide, and then we're trying to come down. So now that you know how to do this properly, how we want to put this in our workout programs, I recommend most people start in this hypertrophy range where they're training anywhere between 10 to 15, maybe even up to 20 reps. I find that's a good range to be able to allow ourselves to really control that lowering phase and get nice, good tension and contractions on the muscle. You can also train this with heavier loads, which I recommend for maybe more intermediate and advanced lifters. It's a great way to target that chest with some heavier loads. I typically will do this anywhere between 8 to 12 reps. I really don't train, below that 6 rep range just because the goal of this exercise here is to keep constant tension on that muscle. If I want heavier loading, I'm going to use more machine or more dumbbell or barbell work. So even though we are using heavier loads in the 8 range, we're still building some general strength. Typically with these isolation movements, we don't want to try and max things out with heavy loads. So building general strength, 8 to 12 reps. If we're building hypertrophy, it could be 8, 12, all the way up to 20 reps, I think is a great way to really build this into your program. In terms of how many sets, it depends really when you're doing it. If I do it, middle of the program, I might do it for 3, 4 sets. If it's towards the end, I might only need 2 or 3 sets. So generally speaking, anywhere from 2 to 4 sets in that 8 to 20 rep range, and you're going to have a lot of great growth. All right, so 2 of the biggest faults I see when doing this. The first one is just lack of control throughout the entire range of motion. So a lot of times people, when they're here, they're always thinking about moving the weight from A to B. So they're at all costs, right? They're coming down. They're really trying to drive their shoulders and their body into it, right? This is not a body fly. We are using the chest. We want to be really strict. So often going lighter, if you're doing that, is probably the solution. Another thing we want to think about when doing this is we're really trying to get a big loaded stretch. So don't be afraid to really control, big stretch, and then come out of it with your chest, not driving the shoulders. So the first issue is just lack of control and too much speed and body English coming out of that movement, right? We're not trying to hunch everything forward. The second error I see here is just improper angles with our elbows. So wherever the pulley is at, that's where we want our elbow to be angled up. So if we have the pulley up high, right, our angle here is here. We don't want to have doing flies like this. And if I have the pulley lower, again, we're having our elbow, wrist, everything lined up. We're not doing chicken wing flies. So that's the biggest fault I see in terms of positioning. If your elbows are not lined up properly, you might start feeling any pressure there, here, and you just won't feel your chest. So that is how you will do the cable crossover, how you can integrate it into your workouts, and how you can refine your technique to get more out of it without having shoulder discomfort. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.